1-800-449-8255. It has begun. You're in the grip of Sharkstiny. Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. That's right, you're on the Clark the Shark Show. Nothing can stop Clark the Shark, not homelessness, not living in a hotel, motel, not lack of job, pool job, SEO, internet job, any job. Sharky rolls on and on. Don't ask me how. I'm even doing it without all my crypto money. They ignore my fervent pleas in desperate emails everywhere, from government right down to crypto guy in other country who whistles past the graveyard as he walks away in silence. But this first Genesis album, 1969, before the Who, Tommy. What a year, 1969. I guess this is like before Abbey Road and Let It Be was complete. Man, 1969, the Rolling Stones, Let It Bleed. So much great shit. I think Blind Faith was from 1969, that album which merged Cream, Clapton, and Winwood, and Zeppelin 1 and 2. So many great albums that year. But there are really none other greater than this debut from Genesis, the first album. And this album, where Genesis were really, really young, and a guy named Jonathan King discovered them and gave them a name. Just Banks, Rutherford, and Peter Gabriel, the only three guys here to really go on and explode into huge musicianhood. But, the guitar player here, Anthony Phillips, he gets cred and respect within the band and by some people outside the band or all around the world to this very day. But of course, Steve Hackett would come along, not on the next album, Trespass from 1970, but on Nursery Crime 1971, which is an album I, Clark the Shark, already reviewed once long ago. But I'm not talking about those other Genesis albums or Peter Gabriel later on. I'm talking about this amazing first Genesis album. And the album was a commercial flop, just a total failure. And that's what I love about it, because these songs are all really, really solid and really, really good. Tony Banks is really good on this album. And everybody is really, they're just young guys recording. There's a score, string section that Jonathan King brought in. And oh, man, this album really gets neglected in history. And I would say, of course, it's underrated, sure, but it doesn't even get that. A lot of people don't even know this album exists, but hardcore Genesis fans like me, Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255 from the golden EIB Sharkraphone, baby, we know about this first Genesis album. 1969, from Genesis to Revelation, one of my favorite Peter Gabriel projects where he is involved. And This album is amazing, you guys. I have to say, I love this album. And I'm sure Peter Gabriel, some nights in his quarters upstairs when he's taking a bath, he might put this album on, as will other members of Genesis, maybe even Phil Collins, even though he isn't on this album anywhere to be found. He's not with the band yet, but I really like this guitarist, Tony Phillips, whatever his name was. This guy was really good on guitar, and I can see where Hackett came along and was influenced by this guy, but then went above and beyond him on about 5 Genesis albums in a row that are just amazing. But this first Genesis album, sort of like the first David Bowie album, doesn't get the accolades and the acclaim that it deserves. But me, Clark the Shark, from the Golden EIB Sharkerphone, I am going to tell you guys, I love this first Genesis album. Thank God for Jonathan King, you know. Thank God that, Genesis were just goofing around, as young kids, and somebody discovered them. And of course, they would go on to incredible things. The next album, Trespass, which I am going to review. Oh, that looks like the streets of Oxford. Or maybe Surrey. Denmark Street. Hallowed British streetdom. But, yeah, man. I love it, even though it's probably not going to get good stars. I'd give it a 5. You guys, you know me, Clark the Shark. It gets 2s and 3s and 5, 5 out of 10, 4, whatever. But it deserves better, you guys. Great album. Really, really an unknown gem of a classic. And the songs on this, you guys, are so developed for a young, undeveloped band, where the sour turns sweet. Awesome. Peter Gabriel narrating, we're waiting for you. Do, do, do. Love it, man. And of course, in the beginning, one of the greatest Genesis songs. I love In the Beginning, you guys. Oceans in motion. It has begun. You're in the hands of Sharky's destiny. Do-do, do-do-do. And Fireside Song I love. And of course, The Serpent is a song which is giving hints to how great Genesis is going to be. And am I very wrong? Me, Clark the Shark, I ask myself that all the time. I love Am I Very Wrong? Killer song. And In the Wilderness, side 1 is just melodic, gentle piano, keyboards, atmospheric. Oh, it's so melodic. These songs are so beautiful, you guys. I love this first Genesis album, and I know people aren't supposed to love this album, but me, Clark the Shark, I love it. Now, of course, side 2, I don't know if it can get better than side 1, but The Conqueror is killer, you guys. Awesome song. And In Hiding, these songs on side 2 are interesting. I love One Day, you guys. Great idea. Some of these should have been on the radio. Who knows? Maybe Jonathan King should have promoted this, put a little more money into it with some payola, and gotten some of these songs played more. But maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe this album was meant to fail, you guys, so that Genesis could turn into the amazing progressive rock band with just all those deep albums. Maybe if they would have made it as this gentle, rock and roll, college, psychedelic, weird band, maybe if this thing had sold millions, things wouldn't have been the same later. I don't know. But Window, I like that song. And In Limbo. classic Genesis, you guys. I love In Limbo. Now, The Silent Sun, which is recorded way before this album, it's from 1967, and it's kind of a well-known Genesis little ditty of a song. If you've ever heard The Silent Sun, where Peter Gabriel's like, the silent sun, the na-na-na, she is the warmth of my broken heart. Almost sounds like the Bee Gees meets, I don't know, man, The Who, or like, I don't know, the Moody Blues. It's so killer. I love The Silent Sun. It's only 2:08, but I wish the song was like 3.5 minutes with some killer little guitar or keyboard solo. And I think that's the problem with The Silent Sun. It wasn't long enough. It's such a great song, you guys. People compare it to the Bee Gees. I don't think it's like the Bee Gees. It's more like the Beatles, or I don't know, like the Who from the Who Sell Out, but more like if John Entwistle or Syd Barrett or maybe like Nick Drake, or it's just killer. I love The Silent Sun. Peter Gabriel, so awesome. And A Place to Call My Own. It's just a little kind of reprise that ends it. Not very long, but really good. Every song on side 2 is really solid and really good. But side 1 is classic. I love Where the Sour Turns Sweet. Now this album, this Genesis amazing first album, would be totally different, you guys, from those other Genesis albums that would come later. But not really. If you really listen to this album deeply, there are some progressive rock songs. Tony Banks is noodling around, as is Anthony Phillips and Mike Rutherford. And there is no better Peter Gabriel album, you guys. He's so young and, wet behind the ears and green. They all are. They're just immature. This is too early. And yet it's really, really solid, and it's really, really good. From Genesis to Revelation, you guys, 1969, early March 1969. Sounds like these songs were recorded in 1968, 67. Yeah, they were, you guys. It's a little dated. It's a little behind the times, kind of like The Who, Tommy, but not really. There's something really mature, and the solidity of this first album. If you listen to this whole album, you guys, you're going to know exactly what I mean and exactly what I, Clark the Shark, am talking about right here on the Clark the Shark Show. The Wolfman Jack on crack from the golden EIB Sharkerphone. It's not a microphone, you guys. I speak into a golden EIB Sharkerphone right here on the Sharky Excellence in Broadcasting Shark Network, where I'm talking about Genesis 1969, the debut album, From Genesis to Revelation. And I knew a lot of people around the South Bay who loved this album. Tom Shannon from Death and Taxes, he used to play this all the time. Back in like 1985, 86, I remember he thought he was getting me into Genesis, but I already knew about Genesis well before I ever knew him, because my brother Paul, of course, from the Jades, Paul was so into Bowie and Brian Ferry and, Peter Gabriel, of course. And I don't know if he knew about this first Genesis album, you guys, but who knows, maybe he did. But me, Clark the Shark, I'm going to tell you guys right now to go buy this at Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, everywhere, because I'm not even going to joke around, you guys. This album is awesome. And because this album is such a solid debut of piano-driven melodic, electric piano, keyboards, acoustic guitar, reverb, atmospheric ambiance, melodic, beautiful, beautiful music. There was really nothing like this. This takes the Bee Gees to another level, you guys, and goes prog rock on those guys and just gives them an ass whooping of a beatdown. And then, of course, after this album, Genesis would just explode into being the greatest album ever. Album rock, one AOR, album-oriented rock, classic. All the albums, Genesis made the greatest albums, you guys. Trespass, Nursery Crime, Foxtrot, all of them, everything up to A Trick of the Tail, Wind and Wuthering. Even after Peter Gabriel leaves, these guys remain awesome. And they didn't really start to suck and get shitty until like Abacab and after that. But for the longest time, Genesis gets my respect, you guys. Late in the game, early in the game, you name it. And they deserve all the acclaim, the accolades. I love Genesis. But of course, you know me, Clark the Shark. I love Genesis with Peter Gabriel, all those classic albums, and certainly maybe especially this first one. I love it, you guys, and I want you to buy it. If you're just 23 years old and you were born in 2000 and 9/11 happened when you were 1 or 6 months old and you don't even remember it, I want you to go buy every Genesis album, but I want you to begin right here with From Genesis to Revelation, the first album, 1969, you guys. And when you buy it, you tell them that you heard it from Clark the Shark, right here from the golden EIB Sharkerphone. And then I want you to buy Trespass, Nursery Crime, 1971, Foxtrot, 1972, Selling England by the Pound, every album, The Lamb Lies Down, and keep being into Genesis. Even when Peter Gabriel leaves, check out A Trick of the Tail and Wind and Wuthering. And then there were 3. But check out Peter Gabriel's solo, you guys. His first 5 solo albums are incredible. I love them. And I'm going to review them. People are emailing me and they're like, Sharky, you got to review some Peter Gabriel solo. Don't worry, you guys, I will. But I want you to buy this first Genesis album because to me, this album belongs with all the Genesis classics. Even though it doesn't have Steve Hackett, it doesn't have Phil, I still love it, you guys. It's too early in the game. They were too young. They didn't know what they were doing. For all I know, Jonathan King was just calling all the shots here, you guys. You know, the string section, you know, Arthur Greenslade or whoever, you know, John Silver, the guy, replaced the drummer, you know, and Chris Stewart, who knows? And maybe it was just all meant to be so Phil, you know, could find his place in rock. Who knows, you guys? Who knows what happens with rock? But me, Clark the Shark, I'm 58. I'm homeless. I'm in hotels. I don't know where I will be next week, you guys. But who knows? Maybe I'll buy another block of 14 nights in a Motel 6 because I'm having too much fun not working and just sleeping all day and taking baths and reviewing albums here in hotels. I'm going to run out of money. But maybe that crypto guy in Malta or Singapore or Germany, wherever he is, maybe he'll give me some of my crypto money and me and my wife can buy an apartment or a house. And me, Clark the Shark, I too deserve the American dream, you guys. And maybe I will find a place to live next week, right here in June 24, 2023, where I'm coming to you, maybe not live, maybe 10 years ago. Maybe I'm long gone. And to you, it's June 24, 2033, and you're in the future. And you're looking back at 1969 and the debut album from Genesis to Revelation. Buy this album, you guys, not because Clark the Shark told you so, but because this album is amazing. And I want you to own it. You just heard the word, you guys, the gospel, the testimony, the truth, and the only review that you will ever want or you will ever need of this debut album from Genesis with all these great songs, you guys. Go buy it. I'm out of here, people. Peace.